Welcome back to Grasping the Gridiron. As always, I'm your host, Zach Thummel, and thank you for listening. Today we'll be going over the Washington Huskies schedule and the outlook for their 2025-2026 season. I'll be going and predicting the games in the schedule game by game, and then I'll also give the top performers for the season on offense and defense, my prediction there and some analysis. And I'll also give the team identity and talk a little bit about what they're going to look like on offense and defense. Getting into the Huskies' schedule here right away, on August 30th, they will play Colorado State at home. And this will be an interesting start to the season, but especially with a Jay Norvell-led Colorado State team and a team that's kind of been on the up and up as of recent and gave Colorado and Deion Sanders some fits over the past few years. But I think the Huskies are going to take care of this one, no problem. This is a Huskies team that is under year two with Jedd Fisch, and I really think Jedd Fisch is building something that can be a contender and a winner here in Seattle. So I have them beating the Rams and the future Pac-12 mate of Rams 45-27 here in the week one. And then September 6th, UC Davis comes up to Seattle, and there's not really too much to look into on this one. UC Davis is an FCS team and one that just, when you're going up against a contending team like Washington and the FBS, I personally think there will be no way that UC Davis is gonna pull this one out, and I have the Huskies taking this one 55-17 on the greatest setting on earth. And then on September 20th, the Huskies travel to Pullman and will play the Washington State Cougars, and this one's going to be a really interesting game and the first real test for the Huskies in their 2025-2026 campaign. When you look at these two teams that I obviously did the schedule and season prediction for Washington State last week and following up with UW this week, of course. And, when you just compare the teams directly, like I said last week, they are going to be very similar offensively. They're going to be run first with a balanced identity. And I really think that Washington's gonna pull this one out on the road in Pullman, 28-24 in a nail-biter. Washington State's going to be incredible defensively, in my opinion, and the same goes for Washington. In fact, I think Washington's defense is going to be one of the best in the country. So I think Washington is really going to have the upper hand here, especially with their defensive backs. And so, like I said, I have them starting the season 3-0. And then that leads us into the September 27th game, which they have Ohio State in Seattle. And in this one, I think Ohio State, while Washington is going to be one of the better teams in the country, I see Ohio State and Jeremiah Smith coming into Seattle and beating Washington in a what's a great game, but ultimately where Ohio State and that receiving corps pulls out 35-21 late in the fourth. And that takes us to October 4th at Maryland. And Maryland's kind of been a team that's had a history that's been up and down, but there's just, I think even in the game in Maryland and in College Park, there's just no way that Washington's not going to pull this one out, especially defensively. I have the Huskies taking it 38-17 against the Maryland Terrapins. Takes us to October 10th. So at this point, the Huskies are 4-1, and they will travel. Rutgers will come to Seattle, all the way from Piscataway, New Jersey, and Rutgers is a team that has a good area to recruit from in that Big Apple area, but just has never seemed to put it together consistently. And I think it's going to be more of the same in that regard this year. And I have the Huskies winning 34-10 here against the Scarlet Knights in Seattle, and have them at 5-1. And then so the next game will be October 18th. They travel to Ann Arbor, Michigan to play the Michigan Wolverines, and this is one where Michigan's coming off of a recent national championship. This is year two for Sharon Moore taking over for Jim Harbaugh leaving and going to the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think this will be an improved year for Michigan, but I think Washington is going to be on their P's and Q's here in mid-October, mid to late October here, and going to go into Ann Arbor and get a huge win for this team to get them to 6-1 on the season. And I have them beating the Wolverines 28-21 there in Ann Arbor. So this is where things get interesting. In late October, October 25th, Saturday, the Huskies will play Illinois in Seattle. And Illinois is a team defensively that and just all around, I think has a shot to win the Big Ten. They're kind of going to be a unique style compared to a lot of teams. And Washington, I guess, will be balanced in that regard as well. But I think Illinois is going to be one of the better teams in the country here, and so I have Illinois taking this 24-21 in a hard-fought battle in Seattle. So the Huskies will then go November 8th at Wisconsin. They're in Madison. And they'll take on the Badgers. And in this one, Wisconsin's kind of had an up-and-down history as well and been Big Ten contenders previously. But I think it's going to be, back to the drawing board for Wisconsin this year. And I have Washington winning this one 31-17 in Madison, which takes us into November 15th, where the Purdue Boilermakers travel to Seattle. And Purdue's a team that I don't see having a chance beating this Husky team in Seattle, and I have the Huskies taking it 28-10 here. Takes us in next week, November 22nd, at UCLA. They're in Pasadena and in Los Angeles to take on the Bruins, and the Bruins are a team that has, there's a lot to look up to and a lot to aspire to with that coaching staff. And, should be a team in theory that should get some great recruits from the state of California and a hotbed there, especially in Southern California. But I don't think, even with the new revelations with Coach Foster there in UCLA, there's just no way it's going to be enough to beat this Jedfish and defensive-led Husky team. I think the Huskies are going to travel into Pasadena there and win 24-10 on the road. Now the Huskies are at 9-2, and so like I said, I think the Huskies are going to be an incredible team this year. And this takes us into the final week for the Huskies, which is November 29th, Saturday, at home in Seattle against Oregon. Oregon comes up from Eugene to Seattle in a historic game that has a lot of rivalry, and the two fan bases, you ask them, they really, really dislike each other. Even though Oregon and Oregon State have their in-state rivalry, and Washington and Washington State have their in-state rivalry, when you ask Oregon and Washington fans in the Northwest, they really, really, especially now, hate each other more than anything. Oregon and Washington fans are big rivals, and this is one where this Oregon team and this Washington team are going to battle to the end. But I think Oregon ultimately will pull this one out, 27-17. And UW and Oregon, these two teams, these two powerhouses in the Northwest, are going to be, I believe, some of the best teams in the country. And so with that being said, that's a 9-3 season for the Huskies, and that's the schedule prediction for their 2025-2026 season. Now on to the top performers for the Huskies this year. The first one I've got is Jonah Coleman, and this one to me is an obvious one. Jonah Coleman, the running back, he's just a stud coming off of a 1,000-yard season, 193 carries for 1,053 yards, 10 touchdowns, and a 5.5 per clip average there. So the guy is 5'9", 228, just an absolute sawed-off brick house. This guy really is going to be hard to tackle in the Big Ten this year, and I'm predicting another 1,000-yard, 10, maybe 20 touchdown season for this kid. I think he posted a picture on his social media, various social medias. I saw it on X. He cut down on some body fat and looks to be in significantly better shape than he was previously, where he was still uber effective. So I think with this newfound physique and this repurposed body, he's going to be primed for a really, really great season. So I'm excited to watch him be the bell cow for the Huskies. The second player on offense that'll be a top performer is wide receiver Denzel Boston, who's actually from the state of Washington as well. Went to Emerald Ridge High School there in Puyallup. So homegrown kid, stayed in the state. This guy's just a big body, 6'4", 209. Is what he was listed at last year. So it'll be interesting to see what he plays at this year and then gets measured at in the potential combine for the NFL draft, because this guy at 6'4", naturally is going to have some eyes on him going into as we approach April and in May if he ends up coming out. So he's coming off an 834-yard receiving season, 63 catches, so 13.2 clip there, nine touchdowns. So I think he's going to be the number one guy, and it's kind of going to be between DeMond Williams, Coleman that I mentioned, obviously, and Denzel Boston. It's going to be a three-headed monster by way of run or pass. So running the ball, it's going to be Coleman, and throwing the ball, it's going to be to Denzel Boston. And DeMond Williams, of course, is an honorable mention for offense, the quarterback for the Huskies, but I think Coleman and Boston are going to be the efficiency guys and the stats guys and top performers for them. Now moving on to defense, the first guy is Ephesians Prysock. He's a 6'4", 195-pound corner, and this guy came to Washington with Jed Fish from Arizona, and he's a long, lengthy cornerback and a guy that will be paired with Tacario Davis, who's my other top performer on defense. Tacario Davis is 6'4", 200 pounds as well. And these two guys at 6'4", I think, are going to be some of the best cornerbacks in the country, not only for their height but their skill as well. And you look at why they went to come and play for Jed Fish, and it's to be paired exactly like this with each other and be on the right or left side. And just with Prysock here, he had 32 solo tackles last year for the Huskies and 6 passes deflected. Sorry. And will really, really be interesting to see if he improves on those numbers, or if sometimes these numbers for corners are misleading because they're never getting the ball thrown to their side. And with 2 6'4" corners on each side, it'll be super, super intriguing to see which side is going to be more picked on and who has more picks, passes deflected, passes defended, tackles between the two of them. Because Davis is coming off of a similar season when you compare them. He had 28 tackles and 6 passes deflected. So it'll be really, really or passes defended. Sorry. So it'll be really interesting to see how these guys pair well together and how they match in this Jed Fish-led team. But I think, between those 4 guys, I think it's going to be a 9-3 team. And this takes us into the team identity for the Huskies. And I think going into the schedule and talking about Jed Fish and talking about these top performers, I think it really says it all. So for offense, it's balance. Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston. This team is going to be about those two, and then DeMond Williams getting the ball to those two guys, and then some QB keepers for himself. A play action. It's going to be a balanced, really, really balanced offense, and it'll be really sweet to see what Jed Fish dials up and what they lean on offensively, and if Boston and Coleman can improve from good seasons last year. And defensively, it's going to be stopping the pass with those lengthy DBs for the Huskies. It's pretty rare for a team to have 2 6'4" corners that can cover, not only just be that tall, but that are great at what they do. So it's going to be really hard for Big Ten teams to pass the ball on them, so I'll be interested to see how they defend the run. And so the Huskies may be a little bit more vulnerable on the run defense side of things, but I think that's also something that the coaches can hone in on and potentially curb some disaster there. So, just in review, I think the Huskies could. I have them at 9-3. I think they could be one of the best teams in the country and could have the chance of going undefeated. Those Ohio State, Illinois, and Oregon games that I have them losing are all within 14 points. So in 2 scores. So I think they could very easily be one of those top tier teams. But for now, that's a conversation for later. And for now, I have them at 9-3, and I'm expecting great things in Seattle this year.